Hi guys, good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, audible.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning. So guys, before we start off, let me introduce myself. This is Pawan Kumar. I am working as a senior business analyst or data analyst. So I handle both roles. So I have an overall experience close to 10 years.
Good morning,
So
sir. Excuse me. Your voice is too low, sir. You're audible. I mean, it's very low.
now, is it fine?
Now it's better. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I have an overall experience of 10 years. I worked in ERP projects and supply chain management projects. So I've been with Agile for some time, and I've worked with Scrum and Kanban frameworks, and I've seen multiple product launches. So into the CRM, Salesforce, and ERP implementation. So I would like to know your profiles primarily to have an understanding and code. For me, it would be a good understanding to code the examples. So I would start with Sangeeta. Can you just go ahead and introduce yourself? Like, what is your profile and everything?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sangeeta. I work into project management. I do have around 6 to 8 years of experience working as an HR and into project management, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the next person. Can you please introduce yourself? Anil Bharat Kumar.
Hi, it's Ravi here. The name displaying over there will be Kumar.
Yeah, hi Ravi.
I am having hi Pawan. I'm having overall 15 years experience, and I have basically worked totally into health insurance, that is American health insurance domain. Basically into management, and obviously no IT work over there, but more of interacting with the client to get the more business at times, and then ensuring that the process what we are working on is aligned properly and is working seamlessly.
Cool. Anybody who wish to introduce himself before I start off?
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Hi, sir. This is Rupesh. Sir, I don't have any work experience, but I completed my BSc and I joined for CYPD. And I have 4 months of mentoring, sir, BA mentoring experience.
Sure. Cool. Anybody else, guys, before I start off? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
So I want to make this session much interactive rather than me speaking for all the 2 hours. So you've been done with your primary training on the basic PDR, 40 hours PDR training. And what are the things that you have learned? Can you just give me an overview? Can anybody take lead and start talking?
Okay, hi Ravi here again.
Yeah, go on, Ravi.
Okay, I have joined COPD on 19 Jan this year, post which I have learned good things about Waterfall, Agile, and basically the SDLC overall of the four methodologies, mostly concentrating over on Agile and Waterfall. So, like we all know, water is basically a stages basis of process, which takes over into multiple consideration, and finally the outcome is there. And the limitation on that or mostly the change request was something which I found different over here. It's not be considered in that aspect how it happens in Agile. Uh, and it is good basically for a small segment process or a small delivery projects for a waterfall, whereas Agile is different, more simplicity is there, where in which your client gets the leverage to get be among with the team and deliver the projects. And change request is quite possible every now and then. Again, depending on the scope, whether it is in nature or out of the nature. If it is in nature, yes, we can do. Out of nature, we cannot perform rather. And the best part, what is happening here is interacting with the client, interacting with the team itself, and getting the work done as soon as possible, and trying to break down into multiple pieces so that the deliverables, what is being expected, is in a top notch, and there's no much mistakes happening over there. Basically, there are multiple things in Agile which is coming up new. Like today, we have joined for SAFE, like the standard Agile framework. So this is something I would like to know, and many more things towards.
Yes.
That's all for me.
Yeah, that's a fine introduction. So, what is a methodology, guys? What do you feel that is relating to methodology? So, define methodology.
Sir, if you ask me, methodology is nothing but the series of steps that you should follow in order to complete, to reach your final destination or something, sir. You'll just if you use certain steps.
Yeah. So, one of the important methodologies other than waterfall, what is it?
Agile.
Agile. And what is a framework?
Framework is kind of what do you call fixed direction. Basically, what we understand in terms of Agile, that we have a principle and a values along with the set of work what we have, and that is a common for any project.
Okay.
And we run through the same thing every now and then. The only thing, the leverage is different. Flexibility is different, but we run on the same framework. Like sprint, you first create the user story and then you break down into multiple small pieces. I mean, definitely into pieces only, and then you take it to the board backlog, and from there on to the next stages and all till the end. It's the same process for every project, along with the values which the team has to follow with. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I believe is the thing which I can relate to.
Yeah. So, methodology is an instruction or a series of steps that been introduced or instructed how a project should execute. So, framework is something which is the pattern of execution. Can I call that? Framework is something which is a pattern of execution and which deals with tasks, which deals with deadlines, which deals with structure of the teams. So, in simple words, how do you execute this methodology is something which is called a framework. So, what is the major framework that we have seen in Agile? Guys, just speak up. We will discuss if something is not going fine. I'll correct you. So, what is a framework that is meant to be executed under Agile?
So Scrum could be a framework, Kanban and XP. So I have a small question here, sir. What you just spoke so far. So you told me that framework is a background, right, sir?
Yeah.
The series of steps that you follow. So now, sir, looking at the Agile, we Kanban, Scrum are frameworks. So are we saying that Kanban and Scrum are very similar for execution of the project, sir?
Yeah. So the nature of work in Agile is iterative, right?
Yes.
So which is falling under the iterative methodology or
Yes.
iterative model, right?
Yes.
So unlike in Waterfall, we don't follow a sequential planning or sequential execution here.
Yes.
Everything is iterative, where you have tasks, epic stories, and you have multiple teams that will execute the tasks in form of the sprints, right?
Yes, sir.
So the structure of iteration is agile, and under that, you follow the steps which are routed through Scrum and Kanban. So let us say the sprint size is 2 weeks for few projects. In Kanban, it might different based on it might be little different and based on the domain and everything. So minor changes can be implemented, but overall structure is similar. So if
Got
you
it.
are
So,
aware of if you are aware of Scrum, Kanban is also
right,
mostly
right.
is your cup of tea.
Okay. So just, I'm sorry, sir, to ask here. So we are
No
saying that
problem.
the product backlog, after that you create this user stories, the structure is same, just that inside the format might slightly differ.
Yeah. So the CRM projects may be little different. The Salesforce CRM projects might be little different. ERP projects might be little different. So the customer products might be little different. Telecom projects might be little different. So GIS projects might be little different. So most of them will be used. Most of the companies will prefer to use Scrum. So Kanban is something which is incepted to deal with the delays of the Scrum. So not majorly different, but minorly different.
Got it, sir. Sure.
So your structure will not change, your product artifacts will not change,
Mm.
but there will be minor differences in terms of execution and team sizes and reporting structure and roles, little different. That's it.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you
But
so much.
Kanban is not completely executed. Most of the market is
Mm.
preferring Scrum as a primary framework,
Got
because it can accommodate multiple releases. It can accommodate your pace of work at a very high level. So yeah, so we understood what is methodology and we understood what is framework, right? So now you tell me, what are the roles that are involved in agile? I mean, in agile Scrum.
So we do have a product owner,
Product owner,
Scrum Master,
Scrum master.
developers, Scrum developers.
So what is that? The Scrum
Scrum.
team you're calling. I'll call them a Scrum team.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the Scrum team will have developers, testers, and then we have analysts, right? This is the overall structure. So who is heading the Scrum team?
The Scrum Master, sir.
Scrum master. And what is the difference between the product owner and Scrum master?
So product owner deals with all with the client requirements exclusively. He'll make sure all the requirements are met, and he will be mostly discussing with the client on the requirements. However, Scrum Master talks about the process, and he'll make sure the whole project is successfully completed in this specific time given, sir. More like a project manager in Waterfall.
Okay. So product owner is someone who is owning the product. So what is the fundamental difference between the product-based company and the service-based company?
Sorry, sir, I'm unable to hear your voice a little.
What is the fundamental difference between the product-based company and a service-based company?
Product-based company talks about the products that they own. Like, for example, I would take Dell or Intel. They have a product. They own the products. Where an application-based company, they work for the client like TCS, Infosys. They don't have a product to say that's their own. In my understanding, sir.
Yeah. So let me put it this way. So product-based companies will invest a lot of money and time in research and development, and they will acquire a product and take the licensing of that and acquire the licensing of that, and they wanted to release this product into the market, and they are the primary owners of that particular product, right? So let us say an application, a Cisco application has been incepted into the market, or they have come up with designs and they have owned that particular product. They want to release it into the market. So to build new features, to execute this project, or to build this platform, and to address millions and millions of end user needs, so they can't recruit millions and millions of employees, right? So that is the reason they outsource the project to the service based companies, where they hire the skilled people or the developers, you can call that way, and they try to address all the needs which are aligned in the scope, right? So there is a role, a very key role that need to be that will be driving that particular process, called a product owner, who will understand what is the purpose of that particular feature, who will understand what is the outcome that is going to generate, and what is the end result that needs to be executed in terms of business and in terms of product launches, and how it is impacting the business and how it is impacting the customers. So he will drive the entire flow of features, and he is the one who is modifying the requirement, coming up with multiple change requests, and who is looking after the releases, who is looking after the artifacts, who is looking after the execution part. I mean, not completely execution part, but execution of the requirement. We can call he will basically create, or he will basically formulate the acceptance criteria. So he's the product owner. And coming to Scrum Master is somebody who is heading the Scrum team, so who is responsible to deliver uh, or make his or her team work, what is the requirement given by the product owner. So, and the Scrum team will have the developers who will again be categorized as front-end developer, back-end developer. So what is a front-end and back-end? Guys, come up with some answers. I'll help you out.
You meant front-end developer, sir?
Yeah. So developers are further categorized as front-end, back-end, and middle-end developers. So what is the significance of this categorization? What is the front-end?
So in my understanding, back-end developers handle the database and the back-end architecture, sir. So they take care of the architecture. And the front-end developers talk about the coding of the screens and pages and
That's correct.
others.
The screen which you're seeing, right? The screen
Yes.
which is visible. So let us say this is the screen that you're viewing out, right? So what are the features here? How the widgets or the web components are routed? How it should navigate and how it should behave in the user point of view. So that is all executed by the front-end developers. They own these features. And the back-end developers are the developers who will try to manage the data flow based on the architectures. And middleware developers are somebody who is licensing between both of them. Middleware developers, middle-end developers are not implemented in all the projects. So to handle large bandwidth of data, so middle end will help them, or streamline the gap between the front end and back end. So just a straight overview. Yeah, go on.
Sir, I have one question, sir. Exactly what it's the first time I'm hearing the term middleware. So, what exactly do they do? Sir? They work on the API, sir?
Yeah, they help the front end to retrieve the API from back end. So what happens is in few projects, so you know about REST API and API, right? So
I heard of API, sir.
so this interfacing part needs some kind of assistance of data, where the front-end developer should exactly pick up the REST API and call the API to execute that functions on a front-end point of view. So that is a little bit technical stuff. So you just try to understand in this way. Middle end is an optional category which comes in few projects, where like artificial intelligence, data science, and huge data need to be addressed. So middle end developers will assist the front end and back end team to bridge that gap.
Okay, sir.
So don't get into too much of technical stuff when you're in the projects that will be addressed. But on a high level, middle end developers are meant to bridge that gaps between front end and back end.
Okay, sure. Thank you, sir.
So there will be a project manager apart from that. And in the part of Scrum team, you have a business analyst, data analyst. So business analyst will assist the product owner. And so you tell me, what are the roles of a BA in Agile?
So a
Anybody?
business analyst would elicit the requirements, sir.
So what about the requirement that is given in the raw format from the product owner? BA,
That is
yeah,
the requirements.
BA will gather the requirements,
Yes, sir.
and then he will,
Uh,
he is responsible to assist the product owner and
yes,
capture that properly and write down the user stories, right?
yes, sir.
So what is a user story?
A user story is an explanation of a small task or an activity that the team has to work on in a fixed amount of time, sir, given time.
So what is the key factor that you, or what is the key attribute that you write down in user story?
So we write down the value statement, we write down the priority, the task, the business value, the complexity points, acceptance
So you
criteria.
basically derive the acceptance criteria, right? Which is a functional requirement,
Yes, sir.
and that how the flow of the requirement should go on, right?
Yes, sir.
For that, you create epics, you create multiple epics, and then you create a product backlog. And what are the tools that are executed in Agile to handle Agile?
One of the tool we would use is Jira, sir.
Jira. So what is the purpose of this tool?
So it handles the complete agile projects like project management, bug tracking.
So tracking of tasks, tracking of product backlog, increments, refinements, sprints tracking, user story points, everything, right?
Yes, sir.
Formulation of epics and everything, right?
Yes.
So everybody's clear till now, the basics of Agile.
I'm clear, sir.
Everybody, please acknowledge this. I
Yes.
wanted to drive this session in an interactive way. So you're clear, right? So who is talking till now? I can't see the name.
Sir,
Who's
my name
answering?
is Sangeeta, sir.
Sangeeta. So apart
Yes.
from Sangeeta, I want someone else to respond on this. What are the major artifacts of Scrum? Guys, come up with some answers.
Hi, Ravi here.
Yeah, Ravi.
Sorry to disturb you here. Actually, I got disconnected because of network issue. I have joined back again, so I am not
I
aware
was
what happened.
just briefing up you on what are the aspects of Agile, what are the key KPIs of Agile. So part of that, I was asking the team to tell me what are the artifacts of Scrum.
Okay, I need some time to think on that. Artifacts on Scrum.
Yeah.
Could it be product backlog, sprint
Product back.
backlog, burn down chart?
Burn down chart is showing you the progress of the sprint. It's
Okay.
not the artifact.
Okay.
So
A product vision?
part of product backlog again.
So maybe your user story as well will be one of part of it, because it's a documentation.
All these are the attributes of this product backlog. which you're going to work. The artifact is something like the end result that you are driving at. Product backlog, sprint backlog, and product increment. In case, guys, are we aligned?
Yes.
Guys, everybody are following. I want an acknowledgement from everyone, apart from Ravi
sir.
and Sangeeta.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, what is the product backlog, guys?
So basically, product backlog will be something where all the stories, whatever is there, is parked or rather placed, I believe, from which or where we will start taking up the stories. Am I right? I'm just trying to give a wild guess on that.
So, whatever the pending work or whatever the user stories that are in the pending state, which will again be iterative, right? So, let us say 5 user stories have been given in a sprint. So, your sprint backlog is 5. So, overall, you need to execute 20 user stories. Your product backlog is 20. So, overall, the pending work you try to execute in your project lifecycle is called your product backlog. That has been derived after the developer gave the scope commit. So, what is a sprint backlog? Maybe Sangeeta, you can answer.
The list of, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a list of work items that the team plans to complete during a project sprint.
Yeah.
I'm right?
Yes. List of items rather than that stories or user stories that can be executed in a sprint, right?
Yes, sir.
So, what is a sprint?
So sprint is a group of user stories that you write in a to be completed in a
No,
specific
what is a
timeline, sir.
sprint? No, I mean to ask, what is a sprint? Definition of sprint.
Okay.
Go on, give any random answer. I can correct you.
So maybe a sprint could be considered in a way in which you just quickly run through the program, the stories to bring up into the development phase. A chunk of
I'll
stories
put
which you
this way.
select.
I'll make you answer. Rather, I give the answer.
It's a set of
So,
period.
Okay.
yeah,
Is it time box
yeah.
period?
Period of time.
Time box
Yes,
to deliver a specific
Yeah.
set of user stories.
yes, that is correct. So, just whenever you are trying to answer anything, when you're a layman to a question, just get the generalized definition of that. So, generally, what is a sprint? Apart from agile and project management and everything, what is a sprint? So, it is a sport which is based on speed. When a person or when A is traveling from point one to point two, and the basic commodity is how fast is traveling, right? So, in a similar way, so at what span of time you're completing your task, it's nothing but a sprint. So, generally, in the given market trends, in the current market trends, so 2 weeks or 4 weeks of time that is been involved in execution of this user stories. It's called sprint, right? So most of the projects will implement a 2 week sprint, but few banking projects where the requirements are little complex, where multiple logics need to be involved, there they may implement 4 week sprint. So if it is a 2 week sprint, it's 10 days. How it is 10 days for 2 weeks?
Maybe the 2 days become being the weekend.
Include
Only
weekend.
the work days have been calculated. So 40 man hours can be considered as, also 80 man hours can be considered as your sprint, a 2 week sprint. So sprint backlog is given, product backlog is given. So what are user story points? User story points.
So it is number of hours that a developer would use to complete a user story, sir. The
Yeah, when
developer
you're giving a
wants.
scope commit, how much time does he require? Or how,
I'm so,
based on the complexity, he'll be giving you the story points, right? The planning point. So it is always being assigned by the developers.
yes.
So what is a product increment, guys?
It is actually the sum that is, I would put it as increment is something where it is an addition, I mean, I would say. So that is, it is the sum of all product backlog that is
Yeah,
completed during a sprint or something.
yes. So I'll put this way, it is a little complex to remember that. I'll put this way conceptually. So once you write the user story, so can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what is this bucketization referring to? So in Jira, whatever the user story you have created under the issues, right? So by giving a project name, by assigning a project name, you write the acceptance criteria here, right? You see this under to do section, everybody.
Yes, sir.
So this user story is in which state now? This user story is in
Initial,
which? It is in to do
initial
bucket, right?
state, to do, yes,
We have to do, in progress, and done. So
yes.
this signifies that all these three user stories are under to do, which is yet to complete, or this is definition of ready or yet to complete. So you see some points right here. So these are the story points which have been given to that particular user story or assigned to that particular user story, right? So whenever the sprint has been initiated or whenever a sprint begins, guys, whoever has background noise, please mute yourself.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Guys, whoever has background noise, please mute yourself. Okay. So whenever a VA assign the user story or write down the user story in this to-do bucket, it will by default go to the to-do bucket once you submit. So the developer will start working on this feature and developing this feature. Once he has started working on this task, so he'll change it to in progress, and he'll be working on this task, and then he will, once that has been completed, once he performs a unit testing to that particular feature, so he'll push it to done. So what done will signify?
So the user
These are
story is completed from the development point of view. So it's not sent to the client yet.
It is not sent to production, it is done with coding, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So whatever the user stories which are in done state, whatever the user stories which are done state, which is in the definition of done, which is referred to the completion of that particular user story by the developer. And when the client has decided to have a product release, they'll combine these user stories from multiple sprints. Let us say there is a feature which is signifying the development of login page, which has been completed in sprint one. There is a feature which is developed or which is signifying the user interaction of shopping or banking or any services, that is completed in sprint 2, and there is a feature of payments that is completed in sprint 3. So let us say all these user stories are in done state. Okay, so the eligibility criteria to increment or a product or increment a user stories is that should be in a done state, which is the definition of done. So what they will do is they will, once the product manager or the product owner has decided to release that particular features to the go live environment, so they will combine these user stories from multiple sprints and align them in a GIT hub. So this combining GIT hub is a environment where you combine multiple tasks or multiple codes, and then they will have this product release. So by incrementing these user stories from multiple sprints. which are meeting the criteria of definition of done. That is called your product increment. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have a small question here, sir. Sir, instead of having to pull out the user stories from multiple sprints, can't the team put those multiple sprints which has dependency in one sprint and then do it instead of pulling from multiple sprints, sir?
I'll ask you a question. So you are a product owner and you have
Okay.
given a requirement to a BA.
Yes.
So will the BA will assign the user story to a single developer or a multiple developers?
Multiple developers.
So that will have only UI or backend as well.
Backend also, sir.
So that is a completely bifurcated task or a joint task?
I understood, sir. Bifurcated. Yes.
No, that's okay. We will come up to an answer. That is a bifurcated task, right?
Yes, sir.
So you will have shrinkages, you will have leaves, you will have issues with the tool, and it is not always that your let us say your target for that in you have derived a scope commit that in your sprint planning meeting you will for that week your developers will deliver 7 user stories with 3 or 4 resources.
Yes.
So you will basically you'll be able to complete all of them or you will refine it again to the next sprint.
That all depends, sir.
You may have change
If you have an issue, we
you may
will
change,
completely define it, sir. Yes.
yeah, not only issue, but you may have change requests, right? So as
Yes.
a product owner, you wanted, so you have some issues in the prerequisites and you wanted to add something or enhance something. So based on the feasibility study that the BA has given, the
Yes.
developers have approved your enhancements. So you
Yes.
will obviously increase the work amount, right? The load is increased. So
Yes.
that will again refine it, right?
Yes, sir.
So to handle this, the Scrum Master or the product owner, we will have a lot of meetings, right? The
Right.
retrospective meeting and planning meeting. So it is
Understand.
not always that you will have to streamline everything in single sprint. So this is a bifurcated task. So mostly, as far as I have seen, they will pick up the user stories from different sprints. That is why they use Jira to track a sprint-wise definition of dones.
Got it, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
yeah. So am I clear with product increment? So this is the major KPI for us to understand what is safe or safe agile. Am I clear with product increment? So I'll repeat myself, whatever the user stories that are in the done bucket, okay, which is being pushed by the developer after completing the task. So this user stories will be aligned in a GIT hub and incremented as a one feature which is ready to launch. So that incrementing of task or user stories is called your product increment. Am I clear? Am I
Yes, sir.
clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a little doubt here. Ravi here.
Yeah, Ravi, yes.
On the same note, I'm just trying to connect it with how it happens because you have the clarity of this one.
Yeah.
So, allow me to take on this one. If let's say you have a stories with us and we create every work on that and we place them into prod backlog and thereon you work on that basis on the sprint alignment and all. Now let's say I'm taking help of Jira application and I'm creating the stories, everything assigning along with the point. Does it happen that way?
Yes, there is a background noise and Ravi, I couldn't hear you.
Is it clear now?
No, not from your end. Someone is unmuted. Guys,
So mute everybody, sir.
please mute. Someone is talking in the background. Yeah, Ravi, can you just repeat that question? I could not hear that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to go in the basics to the higher end. Let's say I'm working on a product and I have user story is created. Okay. And after user stories are created, I'm placing it, it will go into prod backlog where everything is parked towards the sprint and every aspect. Now, most of us, because I don't have the ground reality on this one, I'm asking you. Let's say if I take this thing into Jira application where I'm assigning the things to the developer and testers and other team members, is that right? Using Jira application, we can do?
You assign the user stories to the developers based on the
Right.
scope commit they have given, based on the planning meetings you have decided. And once the developer will do the unit testing, which is the primary testing of that feature, he'll push it to testing. He'll push the code to testing. So
Okay.
that will not reflect in Jira post done. What is going to happen is that's not going to reflect in Jira.
So let's say one story what is created in terms of development, and there is some kind of issues or bug which is repetitive over there, and it is playing back and forth between developer and tester.
Okay.
Eventually, okay, and we need to find out the progress on that one because it's pending from quite a long time. So obviously we will refer into the either sprint sprint burndown chart or product burndown chart. We can see that there is a slow lag in that because we are not progressing further. Now this delay can cause the delivery date also, right? I mean, to maximize or to be enhanced for another day or two. I'm just taking it in a bigger cycle. I hope I'm making sense here.
So yes, that is true. So what will happen is, so what kind of testing we have? We have a unit testing, we have component testing, we have
right.
So what else testing we have?
Unit, component,
System testing,
integration
testing, and user acceptance testing. Right?
Yes.
So unit testing the developer will do in Jira only. So it is a bug fixation tool as well, partial bug fixation tool as well. So he can perform the unit testing in Jira itself, and then he'll push it to done. That this task is done from development. So the testers will perform the component testing and system testing where they will identify the bugs. Okay. So whatever the identification of the bugs it is done, so he will not he will not retrieve back this to in progress. So he will just the developer will just put it done only, and then he'll fix that issues and send it to the testing team. So whereas if there are any issues in the system integration, so the entire code is not forming the system integration is something which is forming a larger code, which is actually formulating a feature. So in the system integration, if the jobs are failed, if the code is failed, that means that there are major issues with the logic. So then what they will do, they will explain what went, the testing team will explain the logic, what went wrong with the developer. And the developer has some ambiguous situations with that logic, and he wanted the BA to reconfirm it with the product owner, and he wanted to proceed only after that. So then what he will do, he will refine it back to in progress. Okay. And then once that is corrected only, and once the right logics are aligned only, again they'll put it back to done. So all this will happen in the sprint cycle only. Post that only, they will consider it as a definition of done. Ravi, am I audible? Am I aligned?
Yeah, I lost it between network issue. I'm facing issues with the network here. I'm sorry about that. So yes.
Where are till where you have been with the logic?
Yeah, I have got it till the stories are being framed into the sprint and where you have the issues with the coding
So
logic.
I'm telling you, you have a unit testing, component testing, system integration testing, right? Unit
Correct.
testing is the basic level of testing that the developer will do and push this user story to done. And the testing team will take it forward for component testing and system integration testing. So once that is done, when that is been ready to release it, or when that has been ready to UAT, once the product owner will check and the logic of that particular feature is misaligned, then the testing team will explain to him, the developer or the product owner will explain to him, to the developer, asking to amplify the logic or correct the logic. Then he will retrieve that or refine that we call it as product backlog refinement, refine back to the in progress state. He'll fix that, and then only it is performed. post UAT only they will decide when to release it or consider this as a definition of done.
Okay.
Ravi, now
So basically, yes, I got it. Most of the things are interconnected, depending on which my next stage will be either success or a failure.
yeah,
Is what is happening here.
yeah.
I have one more question here, sir. Say like I have no idea about how things are happening. As a BA, in a Scrum or in Agile or in a Waterfall, BA will do his part of work. In terms of technical glitch or in terms of understanding things, he has to reach out to the technical team or the PM to get better understanding on that. Because
He will not reach out to the. He will not directly reach out to the PM. He will reach out to the tech lead, who is the senior developer, and they align with him on the gaps.
Okay.
So guys, yeah. So what is the product backlog refinement is? So whenever there is an ambiguous situation for the developer and we can't proceed it to the done state, so he will, to discuss this with the BA or the product owner, he'll put it back to the in progress. Based on the time limits, he'll discuss in the current sprint of the ambiguous situation, or he'll push it to the next sprint. So that process is called refining the product backlog. That is called a product backlog refinement. So are we aligned till now? See, everybody aligned with product increment and artifacts of Scrum?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So now what is the SDLC here? BA will write the user story. After having the product vision and everything, BA will write the user story from the product owner that has been assigned in Jira, right, to the developers, that is tracked in sprints, right guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And through these artifacts, we execute our project, right? So what are the meetings what are the major meetings that are involved in Scrum?
Your daily sprint meeting,
Sprint planning meeting.
sprint planning, sprint review, and retrospective.
In planning meeting,
Daily Scrum meeting.
what is that?
Sprint planning, daily sprint meeting, sprint review, and the sprint retrospective meeting.
Sprint planning meeting, stand-up meeting, and then retrospective, right?
Yes.
Sprint review meeting. Sprint review, then retrospective.
Basically, there are 4 meetings, right?
Review, retrospective, on a high note, it is same, but retrospective, they do it at the release level. Right. So I'll call it, 4 meetings technically, yeah.
So, sir, some of them say that there is a 5 meetings. One more is included at the last. That is known as product something backlog refinement meeting.
Product refinement meeting.
Yeah, product refinement meeting. Yeah.
That differs to project. We used to do it in stand-up meetings. That refers to project, ideally. But nothing is wrong until and unless you are completing everything in your timeline. That feasibility is always there. So you wanted to review 4 tasks at a time, or you wanted to review it once at a time. That is a call taken by the Scrum Master jointly with the project manager. Sprint planning meeting, sprint stand-up meeting, sprint review meeting, and retrospective. So what is the purpose of these meetings? Yes, we are done half of our time.
So the daily stand-up meeting talks about the completion of the task that is given to the team on a daily basis. So just 15-20 minutes meeting where we would discuss about what happened, what have you done yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The daily stand-up, sir.
Okay. So what is this retrospective?
Retrospective talks about, please ask me, sir, talks about what went right and what went wrong, like lessons to be learned. That, let's assume the sprint did not go well. Why did it not go well? Or why did it go well if it went well? So that kind of discussions happen in the retrospective for the next sprint, sir. Majorly focusing on the next sprints.
Yeah. What is this planning meeting?
So planning meeting talks about the velocity, the planning of the division of the sprints. How do we break down the sprints? How do we
You
handle the
forecast your
product
task
backlog?
based on the timelines and how many resources, and
Yes,
then plan your sprint, right?
yes, 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 sir.
Based on that, the developer will give you the scope commit, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
So, are we clear so far? Everybody?
Yes.
Sir. Clear, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
So,
Sure.
I want all of you to repeat whatever we have discussed looking at the screen. So, to get into the conceptual approach, to get into the subject, so I want you to be familiar of few words so that it safe is not confusing. Okay. So, this is all about Agile, right? This entire thing is about Agile Scrum, right? So give me a quick overview of whatever we have discussed. I'll be happy if people who have not participated in the discussion, if you talk, that is more appropriate. But anyway, quickly give me an overview of whatever we have discussed. Guys, please be quick.
So we spoke about the methodologies. What do you mean by frameworks? Then the roles of in Agile and Scrum, to be precise. Then we also spoke about which uh, person does what. So like a product owner role, a Scrum Master, so on and so forth. Then most importantly, we focused on business analysts. What is the role of a business analyst in Scrum team? Then we spoke about artifacts.
What
Then
is the role? What is the role there of a BA?
so business analyst, as we have just mentioned, sir, he handles the user stories. He discusses with the product owner on the acceptance criteria. He'll make sure he gathered the requirements. He'll also make sure that the users, any kind of a change request, anything he is handling with the help of the product owner. So he's aligned with the product owner most precisely.
So what is he deriving?
Sorry, sir, your voice. Sorry,
What
sir.
is he deriving? What is he deriving? Acceptance criteria or user stories, or what is he
Uh,
driving?
he's driving acceptance criteria, sir. I mean, eventually the product and acceptance criteria.
Yeah. Quickly refrain. What are the artifacts?
Yes, artifacts, product backlog, the sprint backlog, the product increment document, the product vision document.
What? No, no. Don't get into documents. Artifacts are something which is talking about the processes. Product backlog is a situation where you need to execute your work. Sprint backlog at a project level. Sprint
Yes.
backlog is a situation where you need to finish the backlog at a sprint level. And what is product increment?
A product increment is a scenario where you would combine multiple user stories which are in done state, and then we will try to work on that features or that epic.
Don't get confused. Put it simple. So, yeah, that is correct. Epic stories are involved in driving this product increment. But get the exact definition right in your minds.
Sure, sir.
So, what is the product increment? Looking at this table,
Sir, if you are sharing some screen, I'm sorry, I'm unable to see it actually.
I'm sharing the screen.
So allow me a minute to disconnect and connect back because I cannot see anything on my screen.
Okay. Guys,
Give
go
me a
on
second.
with product increment. Sangeeta, you can refrain it back again.
Sure, sir.
So,
So
you have
here,
in progress and done, right?
yes, sir, yes, sir.
So, what is an increment that we are doing and where are we doing it?
So we are doing an increment to a user story, sir, which is in to-do list. We are trying, the developer will work
Which is
on
in the
the,
done list, right?
yeah,
It
if you
is a
go to the done
definition
list,
of
yes, sir.
done. So once the user story is completed, that is eligible for the definition of done.
Yes.
And to formulate or to form an entire feature, which is part of the application, when the product launch is decided, so they will increment this multiple user stories, not the stories, the features which are written in a story, and form a main application or main feature or a use case, right? So that alignment is done in GIT Hub by the developers. So whenever we have a product launch, the user stories which are eligible for the definition are done, that are aligned or incremented in GIT. That is called a product increment. Am I clear?
Yes, so there's the voice is breaking, so I'm not sure if that's only for me or for others as well.
Now
I
am I
think
audible?
I'm able to hear it clearly. Maybe network issues.
Okay.
Yeah, sir.
Now am I audible, guys? Anyway, don't worry, we are recording this session, so don't
Sure,
worry.
sir.
Yeah, you're audible. You're audible loud and clear.
So yeah, now user stories are written in Jira. Development team will work in sprints and execute the task, and we will review these meetings.
Yep.
So what is the end result of this SDLC is to release the product, right?
Yes, sir.
To have it release it into the go live environment post the UAT, right? And then post release, there is a process called normalization, where you have the developers have to fix the live issues, the issues that are accumulated in the live environment. The developers have to fix that issues. That is called a normalization. So post product launch, the next week of the product launch, normalizations will be initiated where they will fix the issues. So can I call this the complete life cycle? Requirement gathering, product vision, requirement gathering, user stories, acceptance criteria that are formulated or accumulated at Jira, further enhancements to the development team, reviewing meetings, and these are the roles involved, and then we have a product launch, right? Till now, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Everybody?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
So, what do you think a product launch means?
Handovering of the client project, the requirement.
So I believe putting the features into the go live server, sir.
Go live, right?
Yeah.
So product launch is directly proportional to your product increment.
Yes, sir. It is.
Can I call that?
Yes, we can, sir. Because yes.
So give me a minute. I'll just open that. So to handle the product releases, to handle the product launches, there is a new framework introduced in the Agile environment that is called SAFe framework. Okay. So SAFe framework is something which is basically focusing on the product launches, which is basically focusing on the product releases, which is basically refraining itself to handle the planning meetings or to handle the structural approach to align multiple agile teams and execute the project. Am I clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
we are refraining meetings here.
Sorry guys, I could not hear you.
I have a question. Just what you told based on the statement, we are trying to refrain the meetings here. The
So
two
we will
meetings.
follow the same framework with same amount of resources, connecting multiple agile teams. And our focus area is to launch the product. Here our focus area is to execute the user stories, right, in Scrum. But in Safe, it will focus on executing the product release. That means it will process the product increments, and it will, whatever the execution part it is done here, so how to release it into the market is handled with a framework called Safe. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Am I clear, everybody? We'll just deep dive. I'm looking for something which I've prepared. Looks like it is missing. Just give me a minute. Guys, just allow me for 2 minutes. I'll just stop sharing.
Sure.
Guys, you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Now,
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes.
so I've prepared a document. Looks like that has not been, this file is corrupted. I'll add that and send it to you. I mean, send it to the coordinator. Meanwhile, we can discuss. So, Safe Agile is a framework which will concentrate on the release pattern of the product and what are the product increments that we have. And it is, everything is similar to Scrum, everything is similar to Agile Scrum, but the main focus area is how to release this particular product. Am I clear?
So if you don't mind, can you repeat once again?
So Safe Agile is a framework which has been which is very similar to Scrum and Agile, but its focus area is towards the product launches and post product release attributes. Am I clear? So the
Very much.
framework that is used, the resources that have been here with the designations are almost same. The only difference between Agile Scrum and Agile Safe is here you try to execute the project, the product backlog, and here we will drive the product increments and analyze it and release it to the market or release it to the go live environment. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So yes, sir. Sir, I have a small question, sir.
Yeah.
When you're talking about Scrum, I'm understanding the basic differences in Scrum. That is, we do the similar stuff, right, sir? We also handle the increment. We also look into the launch of the product. I do agree we don't look into the post product implementation though, but we will make
No, no,
sure the
no.
launch.
Here you're writing the requirement
Yes.
in the form of user stories,
Yes, sir.
assigning them, executing them,
Yes.
and preparing the product increment, right?
Yes.
So you are actually making ready the product increment. So you are making sure that the execution of the user stories are in done state. So
Got it.
actual product increment is happening in the safe environment.
Okay.
Okay. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So let us deep dive. So you see this ART, right? I'll give you the introduction slide little later. I think I lost it, but the bottom line is that they will look into the execution part of product release. That is what the SAFE will focus on. So it is just a sibling framework of Scrum where the only focus area would be on product increment and how to release it to the market. Am I clear? So that is called, am I clear, guys?
Yes.
That is called Agile Release Train. So the main focus point of this SAFE framework, this is just incepted into the market. So you don't have much resources or you don't have much knowledge sharing on this. So SAFE will manage the Agile Release Train. That means whatever the product backlog that is being formulated with multiple sprints, that has been planned, and then we call it as ART calendar. What is ART referring? What is
Agile
ART
release
referring?
train.
Agile Release Train, which is a conceptual approach of looking at your release pattern, or which is looking at your framework of release pattern. So there is a separate team for this, where you will have the product owner, where you will have the business owners, and where you will have few members of the development team. So mostly your Scrum team will only follow here, but in addition to that Scrum team, you will have a release engineers. So the team here, product owner, a business owner, you don't have a Scrum master here, you'll have a product owner, a business owner, and then you will have a dev team, and you will have release engineers. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
And what is the process called? Agile. Safe is a framework. Under that, the process is called Agile Release Train. Right? And what is the team that they are looking into? Product owner, business owner, development team, release engineers, and product manager or project manager. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Am I clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Do you see a BA here?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So BA doesn't have an active participation in terms of the SAFe framework, but you should know on a high level, since you are owning the requirement, you should know what is happening on a high level in the release point of view. Okay, so basically, what does PI stands for?
Product increment, sir.
Increment, product.
So you are clear with the definition of product increment, right? So let us say they have a release in Jan, Feb, and March. So the first product increment, which is called as product A, product PIA, is formulated by this business owners and product owners. And whatever the user stories that are in the done state, they will increment that, and that is drive through this agile release train process. Am I clear? So they call all this, they don't call it as a SAFe framework. You're working under SAFe framework with ART as your process. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Am I clear? Yes. So
Yes,
this
sir.
agile release train will align or combine multiple agile teams. Let us say we have discussed, we will have middleware, we'll have front end, we'll have back end, and we'll have multiple teams, right, who are working on multiple requirements. So this art is a group where everybody, one of them from team will be part of this art team, where they will own the requirements and where they will look at the product launches of that particular teams. So let us say team A is building the login page. So increment, product increment of that particular login page is responsible for that art team A. Incrementing the definition of done or the user stories is the responsibility of our team B. That goes on that way. Am I clear? So this is all about synchronizing multiple agile teams and synchronizing all the product increments so that the entire application is released with a calendar. So Jan you release few features, Feb you release few features, March you release few features. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Everybody?
Yes, yes.
Slightly complex, but we will try to push ourselves into the subject. Am I clear?
So
Yes, sir.
if I have to repeat the same thing, sir, it's basically these 4 quadrants or the four blocks which is there. People within that are responsible for the entire package of the work.
Release
Log in
package
and
of the
then
work.
release package of the work, so that
Yeah.
by end you have the entire product ready and you can just push into the demo or live
Yes.
project.
That process is called Agile Release Train, ART. So unless and until you use the technical words, that will not make a difference, because SAFe is just a child version of a Scrum, right? So to tackle the releases efficiently, this is incepted. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So we will have 5 iterations. Let us say, you understand what is iterations, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is iterations? No, forget about SAFe. In general, what is an iterative model? Or how is it different with sequential?
Repetitive work, right? Unless it is correct.
Yeah. So basically, you have a product launch, you have a PI X1. So let us say 4 features are coming under the product increment. Okay. So in the first iteration, so you have, let us say, 15 features. Okay. So you have 4 iterations. So in iteration 1, so you will increment 3 features. In iteration 2, you will increment 3 features. In iteration 3, you will increment 3 features. In iteration 4, you will increment 4 features. and the fifth iteration is considered to be the execution of the planning, is considered to be the contingency. If something is not executed in these 4 iterations, fifth iteration will take place. So all these iterations are related to product increment. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Am I clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, sir.
So alignment between various agile teams of an ART happens through a predefined series of safe meetings. So similarly, we have planning meeting, sprint planning meeting, sprint execution meeting, sprint retrospective, right? So similarly, how this incrementing of the user stories or how the product increment is happening in multiple iterations is tracked in this safe meetings, where your product owner and business owner are part of that. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So what is the connection between Agile Scrum and ART level? So what is the connection? So unless and until I told you definition of done, right?
Yes, sir.
Unless and until the developer will complete that user story, which is part of planning, execution, adjust and monitor. So unless and until all this is done, after execution also, the question that is raised by Ravi, we have some setbacks that we need to push it back, and we need to fix it, we need to further refine it, and then push it to done. So unless and until the user story is in the done bucket, can we consider that for ART?
No, sir.
So the major connection of this Agile Scrum and ART, which is part of SAFE, is that your execution part of user stories, which are planning, execution of user stories, adjustment and monitor, which will further be formulating the definition of done state, will be managed. Unless and until that is managed, we cannot end the product increment. So if you see this chart, the Scrum team is there, where the dev team is going under the product owner, where he will be giving the requirements. They'll plan, execute, and put it in the definition of done. So once that is done, the P1 starts. P1 PI starts. PI stands for product increment starts. So I told you, right, based on the calendar, we have multiple iterations, and the fifth iteration is for contingency. So that is the reason you see this red mark going only after the 4th iteration. So that means that, so 4 user stories have been executed in iteration 1, 4 user stories have been executed in iteration 2, 4 and 3, and 4 and 4. So once this 4 are done, the P1 will start. Once the next 4 are done, the P1 of iteration 2 will start. That will go on. And then once the 4th iteration is done, the P1 will end. So sorry, I'm pronouncing it as P1. This PI will end. Am I clear? What is the relation between the Agile, Scrum, and ART?
So yes, sir. Basically, sir, it's happening in a way like how to tell. You're refining the same thing like once.
Refinement
Sorry.
is part of this, but refinement is not only the process. So let us say third user story is failed in incrementing this. That will, in incrementing iteration, in incrementing the PI or formulating the PI for iteration 1, it will go to iteration 2, and further here you will execute 5. So your product backlog is not changing.
Yes, it remains same, but yes.
Yeah, remains same, but the refining process also happens. It is not only the refining process, it is also the refining process.
So basically, the quantum is increasing till the IT4. I mean, the 4th stage, and the 5th is the cumulative of all, where everything is again relooked to avoid any contingencies.
Yeah. Am I clear, guys, so far?
Yes, sir.
So what is safe?
$1 question.
It's
Sir.
execution of product release.
So safe is focusing on what process of the SDLC? Product release, right?
Yes. And
Safe is focusing or executing or driving the process of product release, right? So
Yeah.
for product release, what is the commodity that we require? Or what is the process that we require? That is product increment, right?
Yes.
Guys, please be active. Let us learn slowly. Product increment is the main focus area, right?
Yes, sir.
yes.
So once this product increment need to be initiated, what comes in picture? Agile release train. What is it exercising? Whatever the user stories that are in done, that is basically processing it in multiple iterations and ending the increment, right? That means after this it will be the product launch. Till now, are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, may I know what is the PE? Sorry, plan, execute, adjust, and monitor.
Yeah, this is nothing but your in progress, to do, and done in simpler format.
Okay. No, I
So
was
plan
little
is that,
confused. Yeah. What is that
yeah.
PEAM? So I got
So
it.
P
Yeah.
is falling
Plan.
under product increment, right? So
Yeah.
PEAM, that means that I'll make it simpler for you. That is your to do, in progress, and done. So finally, after done only, this is eligible or this is valid. Am I clear? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Trying to understand. Yes, sir.
No, don't go with this exact definition. So this material has been inserted from a course point of view. So what is PI?
Product increment, sir.
Product
Product
increment.
So when product increment is valid?
It's when all the user stories are in the done stage.
So definition of done, right? So before, what are the prerequisites of done?
The user stories must be completed from the coding from the development perspective, sir.
So you have a to-do state, you have in progress state, and then done state, right?
Done. Yes.
To-do is
Yes.
something which you are planning, where your user story points are given, right?
Yes.
So execution is in progress, adjust and monitor is that is ready to done, right? So that is forming your product increment. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So I told you P1 will start and P1 will end. What are these iterations? So what are these iterative processes, guys? So let us take 4 user stories have been incremented. Then P1 will start, right?
Yes, sir.
That is done in the first iteration. Then
Yes.
4 user stories will be added. Once Scrum sprint has been completed, product increment will also increase, right?
Yes, sir.
Once you complete your sprint, product increment will also be increased, right? That is not static, that is dynamic, right? So
This I got it. Yes, sir.
this product increment is proportionate to your completion of sprints. That means the user stories are incremented 5 times or ideally 4 times, and that will form a P1 or PI, right? One PI, right? So one
Yes.
product increment is considered as a mini project. So I'll make this simpler for you. So guys, any challenges in understanding?
No, not until now,
Hello?
sir. Not
No, sir.
until now, sir, but we're trying to understand.
Unless and until you have a very strong knowledge on Agile, so this is slightly difficult, but try to get into the subject. So, what is this? Guys, what is this? What do you call? What do you call it?
Ticket
A
booking.
UI, a web page, a UI of the web page, right?
Yeah.
So, what are the use cases that we have? Essential use cases.
Multiple features for products like flights, hotels, homestay, and buttons. Then booking, date. No.
So the the location to location, from location, the time.
Data.
Destination to arrival, yeah. Dates.
Travelers.
Traveler, yes, that's a use case.
So basically, flights, hotels, holidays, trains. These are the essential use cases that we build, right?
Yeah.
So you need to write a user stories for this, right? So can you write only one single user story for flights?
No, sir.
For hotels, we require multiple user stories, right?
Yes.
So when we have multiple user stories and when we have multiple use cases, somewhere this need to be connected, right? So you write a user story for one way, round trip, and multi-city, 3 user stories, right? So these 3 need to be incremented,
Right.
Yes, sir.
I'll increment all these 3 user stories in IT1 after my user stories are done, right? I'll increment the user stories of hotels in IT2, right?
Hmm.
Where is this? I'll increment all my user stories in IT2 after the definition of done for that particular essential use case. Can we call it as an epic? Can we call it as an epic?
Yes, sir.
I think only Sangeeta is active. Rest of the people, please respond. Hello.
Yeah, that the overall requirement will be an epic. Yes.
Yeah. So now I have the third feature. Trains, buses, cabs. Okay, I'll execute them in 3, 4, and 5 if required, 5th also. Okay, so did I complete my entire screen or did I complete building the entire web page?
No, sir.
No.
I have completed partially, right?
Yes.
50 or 60% of that. So this P1 is for safe. What is a sprint in Agile framework is each P1 is considered as a mini project. Okay, so product incrementing of all these features can be considered as a mini project since it is not completed at a web page. Am I clear?
100%. Yes, sir.
So I'll reframe again. What is safe?
Safe. It's a framework, sir. Defined.
It is a framework which is part of Agile, which is very
Agile.
similar to Scrum, right?
Yes.
And then
that focuses mostly on the iteration.
Yeah. What are the teams that are involved? Product owner, business owner,
business owners,
product manager,
developers, release engineers.
Release engineers, and architect also is involved there. I've added the slide that is missed, but I'll re-add it again. Architect. Why do you think architect is added here?
So because he has to design the architecture, sir. Now that we have the products, the features available, but we need to establish the connection. So we would have to design the architecture to get the real-time understanding of the project, of the product. I'm sorry.
So basically, architecture is meant to design the mockups or to decide the fitment of the features, right? So in the process of releasing, so you are releasing from the production environment to live environment, right? So the insights of the architect is crucial here to derive the or drive the releases. So he's also part of that. So apart from that, what is PI stands for?
Product increment.
And how is it executed?
Have the answer. I mean, it's like based on the table which we have gone through now, the product increment is executed basically on the stories which has been aligned to the each of the stages, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And until it is done, then the final one, the 5th one comes up, and that is where to see if there is any still contingency left over to counter them.
So what is ART?
Agile release train.
So what is it doing?
Basically for the releases, for the art.
So Agile release train is basically synchronizing multiple Agile teams. Like I just explained you, this may executed by a team, this may executed by a team, this may executed by a team, this may executed by a team. But when I'm incrementing it, am I incrementing it in a single environment or not? Guys?
Yes.
So when I'm trying to increment this products, when I'm trying to increment this user stories which aren't done, I'm trying to synchronize multiple Agile teams, right?
Yes,
Multiple
sir.
dev teams, right?
Yes.
So that platform is developed in ART, right? Or that is derived in ART. You get that? So
Yes.
how many iterations can PI accommodate?
5.
5.
Oh.
4 basically. 5th one is the final. I mean,
4.
The 5th one is the combination of the 4 iterations.
Part, yeah.
Yeah.
So we are incrementing. What is that we are incrementing exactly?
Just user story, sir.
Which will form.
product.
So there is a story, there is an epic. So finally we form a feature, right?
Feature, yes.
So are we incrementing epics or a features?
Features.
Feature, sir.
So you're basically saying I am trying to increment flights with hotels.
No, sir. Then
No.
So you are incrementing stories to form features and features that will be released, right?
Yes.
Right, guys. So let us say in a capability in a scenario we have 3 features. In a capability B or in a scenario we have 2 features. So this capability A will form a main feature. Under that you have sub features. So you are actually incrementing the sub features to form a capability. Am I clear? So in simple words, you are incrementing this one-way round trip multi-city as a sub features to form a capability feature of flights. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay.
So can you please give me another example, sir? Not a problem.
Other example regarding?
Similar capability.
So capability is a larger version of your features, which will form through user stories and epics. It's comprised of many features developed by multiple ARPs in parallel. So one ARP is giving you 4 iterations, right?
Yes.
So in similar way, you will have multiple ARTs which will form 4 to 5 iterations each in each PI. So combining multiple features will give you the capability feature.
Or either
Guys, someone is speaking on mic, please go on mute.
the recording consultant.
Yes.
Hello, guys, please go on mute. I mean, whoever is speaking in the background. Am I clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Got it, sir. So here, the flight would be a capability. Under that, the location and the
You will
type
have
of.
multiple features which will form with multiple stories and epics.
Yes. So flight would be a feature or a capability, sir?
Group of features forming a capability.
Okay, done. So flight would be one feature, hotel would be one feature, the train would be another feature, right, sir?
Yeah.
Done. Thank you, sir.
So what are the meetings that we have derived in Scrum?
Daily Scrum, sir.
Stand-up meeting, retrospective meeting,
Review meeting and planning meeting.
In similar fashion, in similar format, there is a planning meeting to formulate this PIs. That is called the objectives meeting to set the business objectives, where they will see the final refinements, where they will see the final definition of dones, and then they will process the iterations. And then there is a second meeting here, planning introduction meeting. So this is driven by the business owner. Okay. So planning introduction meeting, business owner, PM, product owner, everybody is there, but the business owner will be the primary person to drive this. So he will be informing the release train engineers or the release engineers to back up the systems post incrementing the products or post product increments, to back up the systems or to make a definition of ready in terms of the release environments or the release servers or the release engineers after the completion of the 5th iteration for the current PI. Am I clear? So this is called the PI planning event, where the release engineers, business owners, and the product manager is part of this. Am I clear?
So can you please repeat this meeting, sir? I'll just.
So this is so you will, once you write the user story, you will groom it to the developer, right? So once the PI incrementation is done, the PI1, PI2 is ready. So they see the 4th iteration and 5th iteration. So based on the progress of these iterations, they will brief the release engineers to give a definition of ready from their end in release perspective, to make sure that nothing will fail in iteration 5 and the PI goes to the production. That is called the PI planning event.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So similarly to the stand-up meetings, so they will have a regular meeting. So introductory meeting goals will be given. So to drive this PI planning, where your leadership team will be present and your release engineers will be present. So how they will drive this product increment, how they will drive this or accumulate this or synchronize multiple agile teams into P1s or PIs, and then they will try to execute that in multiple iterations. And what are the refining processes that are involved in between, or what are the job failures that are involved between? All this planning is done here. Am I clear? So this is similar to our stand-up meeting or a sprint planning meeting. Am I clear,
Okay.
guys?
Yes, sir.
So I'll open the session for questions. I'll share the resource and recording. So what is the bottom line? What is your experience of SAFe? What did you understand? So unless and until you are a professional on Agile, Scrum, it is a little hard for you to drive this. But why do you think a BA should know this SAFe methodology? Since it is a linear methodology or a linear framework, or rather I say methodology. So why is it important for a BA to know this?
So if you really ask me, sir, a business analyst is a role that has to understand the complete 360 degrees of a project, sir. I mean, he should know everything. So here, SAFe concentrates mostly on the increment and the iterations. It's very important for a business analyst to know that what is the result of the user stories that he or she has created and that has been executed, sir. So as SAFe concentrates on the release of multiple user stories, I believe it's important for a business analyst to understand what is the where is the user story lying right now after definition of done. Or
Yeah, I would like to stop you here. That is basically the important point that you need to know. So you are responsible to drive the requirements, right? So a planning perspective or a release perspective will depend on the planning of the sprint meeting, right? So do you agree?
yes, sir.
So I can only release or I can only perform a PI unless and until you plan your sprints efficiently, right? So there is a slight connection between this business owner and the product owner with BA in terms of this release activities, where they will ask the BA to align with the dev team or the tech leads to make sure that the scope commit that they have given, the plan estimations that they have given, and the unit testing they are performing, and all the user stories that are in the done state are refined properly or are getting ready for the incrementation properly. So this kind of activities, project management activities that you need to do. So that is the reason SAFe will allow you to know the impact of the primary steps that you are owning, like requirement gathering and formulating the acceptance criteria and aligning it with the product owner and the dev team, and mainly driving it in the Scrum meetings or the daily Scrum calls. So release planning activity is depending on this regular planning activity. So the BA has to make sure that the release activities to have a smooth product increment, to make the definition of done is meeting on time or not. That is what the BA is related to here. Am I clear, guys?
Yeah, sir. If I can place the same thing in a different way, not different way, the same thing in my own words, like a normal agile functionality, what a BA does over there is well known by all of us. Coming up with SAFe is something more towards the release aspect, where BA though is not in that group rather, but he is part of it, and he is the only insurance he has to bring up here is the release. Whatever is done in terms of definition of done is on the go with the right approach without any flaw.
So they are carrying the requirement that you have collected and agreed with the development team to release it. So if something goes wrong in the production, you are accountable and
Right.
jointly with the development team. But
The
that
BA
will not
must.
happen in Agile. That will not happen in Agile. So you will have retrospectives also.
Yes.
So what this retrospectives will drive is, so most of the companies they do there is retrospective post product launches. So post your product increment, your release is done. So post product launches, what went well, what didn't go well, and why something has been failed, why there are many issues in the production, all those kind of things. But as far as few companies or few clients have been uh, looking into, they will do the retrospective at a sprint level. So as a PA, you need to take that ownership of suggesting the teams or the scrum masters what kind of requirements you are handling, and what kind of what kind of span it is and what kind of scale it is. The scalability of the requirement is much important here. So if it is a larger scale and if it is impacting larger number of end users, so planning the retrospective or doing a retrospective of every sprint will help you for a efficient release, but it is again proportionate to the man hours. So they will do this retrospective of the product launches. So as a BA, you just need to be aligned in tracking the change requests efficiently and making sure that all the changes have been deployed efficiently. If something has been missed from your end, that need to be communicated, which is very important to the developer, that will impact the end result and your performance as well. So knowing safe is important, but as far as I'm concerned, so you just need to be, so gain some practical experience in Agile. I'm sure once you're placed, you'll have that. So safe is an extension of that to the next level, the planning or synchronizations of multiple teams. It is simple, but it has multiple dimensions. So it has multiple things to address. So that is the reason in the current market trends, BA is not part of that, but BA should know that. So
So safe is a, sorry, just continue.
Yeah, get well versed with Agile Scrum, so you will also know safe. That is the equation.
So I have a question here, sir. Agile is mostly common now, and I'm not sure from how long safe is existing, but
no, safe is part of Agile. I'm telling you, safe is
okay.
part of Agile, which is a framework, different framework, which is part of Agile, which will follow the fundamentals of Agile, which will inherit the fundamentals of Agile and Scrum, but for a different purpose.
Okay.
So it is like once you build this product backlog, once you execute the user stories, once you have done the definition of ready, once you have reviewed everything, so at the time of product increment, this safe framework will inherit the processes that has happened in Scrum and make sure that whatever the definitions of done have been executed in the done stage, they will capture that with a certain amount of framework, with a certain amount of execution part and planning. They will execute that and release it. That is what safe is. So without the primary life cycle of Scrum, safe is not possible.
Okay.
So safe is too linear. So they'll just take the outputs of your product backlog, I mean whatever you have done, and then increment it with a streamlined process. Guys, any further questions? I'll share you the notes and recordings. I'll add the introduction slide as well. That will help you.
Sure, sir.
Any other questions? Any feedback?
It was good. Safe is something which I was asked long back, and I had to Google out what actually it is. So apart of the abbreviation, I was not aware what it is. But today, at least I have some idea. Yes, I can say clearly that I'm not that much versed now. I mean, well versed word will not be used here. Yes, I need some time to understand and then possibly get along with it.
Yeah. So look at what is ARTs and look at artifacts properly, and look at what is the features and how are they driving out with epic stories and capabilities, and what are the teams and how the PI is executed in iterations. That's all safe is.
Okay.
So if you know this, that's fine. I think concentrate more on Agile Scrum, but have an overall overview of safe.
So one question, sir: is Spike part of Safe or Agile?
Sorry.
There is a Spike called a meeting. Spike meeting or able to recall the total name. It's something like a rigorous coding or testing. Something is called a Spike in Agile, which is also part of Safe, or maybe.
So the entire life cycle is part of SAFe. The entire release life cycle is part of SAFe. So I'm not sure what kind of tool it is.
No worries,
So
sir. I'll look into it.
to increment, GitHub is used as far as I know, but I'm not sure what is the specifics that you're doing.
So do we have any tool to implement SAFe, sir? Just
There are multiple
GitHub.
tools. GitHub is there, and you'll have multiple release environments. Each company will build their own release environments based on their budgets and everything. There is no specific tool that we can drive or learn. So you learn Jira, that will help you a lot in
okay.
understanding epics, user stories, issues, breaking the sprints, project scopes, and everything.
Okay.
So that is the scope or area of scope that you need to look.
So in
But anyway, you don't
organizations,
have access to increment this. This is a technical activity. The
okay,
developers will majorly shoulder this. As a BA, to be strong in terms of requirements is important, and drive the acceptance criteria is important. So
yes,
Jira Rally, if you learn that, that is fine. I think Jira is
okay,
available on a trial
yes, sir.
version, so that will help you.
Sure, sir.
Sir,
So
one question, sir.
yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead, Sangeeta.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So in organizations, to implement SAFe, they use Jira or any internal tools, sir. I mean, that is what people in companies they do.
SAFe is a mechanism. It's a
Right.
conceptual approach that you need. It is just a planning activity post definition of done. How do you increment your
Right.
product increment? How do you exercise that? And as I told you, each company will own their own release environments, GitHub or any other efficient tools.
Okay.
So SAFe is not a web application. SAFe
Right.
is not uh, a tool where you code anything. It is just a conceptual approach. It is a framework similar to Scrum.
Got
So
it,
it
sir.
has some dependencies on Scrum and Agile. The purpose of SAFe is to increment the product with
Right.
multiple dimensions and then drive the product release and retrospect it properly. And to have this planning, we use this framework called SAFe.
Got it, sir.
So
Thank you.
SAFe cannot replace Scrum. Scrum cannot replace SAFe. These are both independent activities, as far as I know. Because if you remove Scrum, how would you track your user stories?
Yeah.
Is highly difficult to track something in a linear model. I told you this is a linear model, right? It
Yes.
goes on iteration 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So linear activity is always complex. So the purpose of SAFe is to track your releases and deploy your product increments.
Got it,
That's
sir.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you,
That's
Sangeeta,
it
ma'am.
from my end, guys. I
Sir,
would
one
like
last
to.
question, sir.